Welcome back to the channel. What if I told you that right now, sitting quietly in a jar on your kitchen shelf, hiding in the cup holder of your car, or mixed inside the loose change in your pocket, there could be a 1983 quarter dollar worth an unbelievable $59 million. Yes, a coin with a face value of just 25 cents that could literally transform your entire life overnight. And before you dismiss this as another internet myth or exaggerated rumor, you need to hear this urgent warning, because thousands of people have already unknowingly spent this exact coin on coffee, gas, or groceries without realizing the historic fortune they were holding in their hands. The 1983 quarter struck by the legendary United States Mint at the Philadelphia Mint has become one of the most shocking modern coin stories in American numismatic history. And the reason behind its jaw-dropping value is not just age, not gold content, not silver weight, but a rare combination of condition, scarcity, mint production quirks, collector demand, and grading miracles that turn an ordinary circulation coin into a multi-million-dollar headline. And here is the part most people do not understand. In 1983, the Philadelphia Mint did not produce official uncirculated mint sets for collectors, meaning most 1983 quarters went straight into circulation and were used heavily in everyday transactions. They were tossed into vending machines, dropped on sidewalks, stacked in cash registers, and handled by millions of hands. So finding one in pristine, untouched condition decades later is like discovering a time capsule sealed by accident. And when an example surfaces in nearly perfect state with blazing luster, razor-sharp strike, flawless surfaces, and nowhere, the collector world erupts, because such coins are exponentially rarer than people imagine. Grading companies, like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, use microscopic inspection standards that measure every tiny mark, every contact line, every detail in the hair of George Washington, whose portrait dominates the obverse of the Washington Quarter Series. And when a coin from 1983 earns an ultra-high mint state grade at the absolute top of the population report, sometimes even with special designations for exceptional eye appeal, it becomes a trophy piece, a registry-set superstar that wealthy collectors compete fiercely to own, driving auction prices into territories that shock even seasoned investors. And that is how a humble-clad quarter made of copper-nickel sandwich metal can cross from pocket change into a multi-million-dollar phenomenon. But here is where the urgent warning becomes critical, because counterfeits, altered coins, and misinformation are spreading rapidly online. And many people are misidentifying ordinary worn 1983 quarters as rare treasures simply because they saw a viral headline claiming a $59 million valuation. So you must understand the difference between a circulated coin worth face value and a certified, top population, nearly flawless specimen recognized by the leading grading authorities. The difference can literally be millions of dollars. And yet, to the untrained eye, they may look almost identical. The Philadelphia mint mark absence is another point of confusion, because coins struck in Philadelphia during that era typically carried no mint mark. So your 1983 quarter without a mint mark is normal, not automatically rare, and only a combination of pristine preservation, sharp strike quality, and certified grading at the very highest level elevates the coin into elite status. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that the early 1980s were economically turbulent years in the United States, with high inflation and heavy circulation usage, meaning coins from 1983 often show extensive wear, contact marks, and dull surfaces, making gem-quality survivors incredibly scarce compared to later decades, when collectors preserved more coins intentionally. And when a high-grade example appears at a major auction house, competitive bidding from registry collectors who are building the finest known Washington quarter sets can skyrocket the final hammer price beyond all expectations, sometimes fueled by publicity, media coverage, and the psychology of owning a number one ranked coin. And suddenly headlines explode across news outlets and social media claiming a quarter worth millions, sparking treasure hunts nationwide. People dumping out piggy banks, rolling through bank boxes, searching inherited coin jars from grandparents who lived through the era of Ronald Reagan, wondering if history accidentally passed through their hands. And the story becomes even more electrifying when you consider how modern numismatics has transformed into a serious investment arena where elite coins are treated like fine art, rare paintings, or historical manuscripts stored in vaults, traded among high-net-worth individuals, and tracked through public auction records. And the 1983 P quarter stands as a symbol of how condition rarity can outweigh age. Because while ancient coins from centuries past may be affordable in lower grades, a modern coin with virtually no surviving perfect examples can become exponentially more valuable due to population scarcity, registry competition, and the desire for perfection. Yet the urgent warning remains that most 1983 P quarters in circulation today are worth exactly 25 cents, unless authenticated and graded at the highest levels. So before you quit your job or announce your retirement after finding one in your change, have it carefully evaluated by professionals. Protect it from scratches. Never clean it because cleaning destroys numismatic value instantly, and store it safely in a protective holder because even a single wipe with a cloth can reduce a potential fortune to pocket change. And this is where education becomes your greatest weapon, learning how to examine luster that radiates like a cartwheel under light, identifying full strike details in Washington's hair and the eagle feathers on the reverse design used before the state quarter era, checking rims for nicks, spotting contact marks on the cheek and fields, understanding the grading scale from Mint State 60 through the elusive Mint State 70, and realizing that the difference between MS 66 and MS 68 can mean tens of thousands, or even millions of dollars depending on demand and population. Data. The Washington Quarter Series itself began in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and over decades it became one of the most collected coin series in American history. But certain dates, like 1983 P, gained legendary status not because of low mintage numbers alone, but because of the absence of official uncirculated sets, and the heavy where most coins endured, creating a perfect storm for condition rarity decades later. And when investors analyze population reports showing only a handful of top-graded examples certified, they recognize scarcity in its purest form, scarcity that cannot be manufactured, cannot be mined, cannot be reproduced by the mint today, and that immutable scarcity fuels explosive auction outcomes. Yet again, the warning must be repeated because scammers exploit viral stories, listing ordinary quarters online for outrageous prices without certification, preying on inexperienced buyers who believe every 1983 P quarter is a jackpot. So always verify certification numbers directly through grading company databases, study auction archives from reputable firms, and never rely solely on social media claims. And imagine the emotional roller coaster of someone discovering a nearly flawless 1983 P quarter in a long-forgotten collection, submitting it for grading with anxious anticipation, waiting weeks for results, then receiving confirmation of an elite grade that places the coin among the finest known, instantly transforming a forgotten piece of change into generational wealth. The shock, the disbelief, the life-changing implications, paying off mortgages, funding children's education, securing financial freedom, all from a coin that once bought a gumball. This is why the story continues to trend, because it represents hope, hidden opportunity, and the thrilling idea that history still circulates among us disguised as ordinary metal. And whether the reported $59 million figure reflects a single extraordinary sale, a speculative valuation tied to registry prestige, or cumulative insurance appraisal for a unique top population specimen, the narrative underscores a powerful truth in numismatics that condition is king, rarity drives value, and knowledge separates fortune from oversight. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you open that old jar of coins, when you visit the bank and request a roll of quarters just for curiosity, Remember the 1983 P quarter story, inspect carefully under bright light, preserve anything promising, and treat every coin with respect because history often hides in plain sight. And don't you dare look away now, because this is only the beginning of what's about to shake your understanding of pocket change forever. The next two coins we're about to reveal are even more explosive, even more unbelievable, and they carry stories so powerful that collectors and investors are still fighting to get their hands on them. Coins that started as ordinary circulation pieces from the United States mint yet evolved into jaw-dropping treasures capable of rewriting someone's entire financial future. And if you thought the 1983 P quarter was shocking, what's coming next will completely redefine what you think is possible inside a simple handful of change. We're talking about ultra-rare condition miracles, hidden mint anomalies, and valuation levels that have stunned auction rooms into silence. So stay locked in, stay alert, and stay connected because the next two mind-blowing coins are not just rare. They are legendary, and missing what's coming next could mean missing them. Knowledge that stands between ordinary spending and extraordinary discovery. Next, 1998 P quarter dollar. Before you ever spend another quarter without looking at it twice, stop and imagine this. A single 1998 P quarter dollar that once bought a soda or a bus ride could under the rarest and most extraordinary circumstances be valued at an astonishing $34 million. A coin struck for everyday commerce by the powerful United States Mint at the historic Philadelphia Mint. A simple clad quarter featuring the timeless portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the classic eagle reverse design that marked the final year before the famous 50-state quarters program transformed American coinage forever. And that alone makes 1998 a pivotal transitional year in modern numismatic history because it represents the end of an era, the last standard Washington quarter design before a nationwide collecting frenzy began in 1999. And while millions upon millions of 1998 P quarters were minted and released into heavy circulation across the United States, almost none were preserved in absolute pristine condition, and that single fact is where the legend of the $34 million valuation begins to ignite curiosity and disbelief across the collecting world, because value in modern coins is rarely about age alone and almost never about metal content. When it comes to clad quarters composed of copper and nickel, instead it is about condition rarity, population data, registry competition, and the intense psychological drive among elite collectors to own the single finest known example certified at the highest possible grade. And when we talk about a coin reaching such an extraordinary valuation, we are not referring to an ordinary worn quarter with scratches, dull luster, and contact marks from decades of use in vending machines and grocery stores. We are talking about a nearly flawless specimen preserved with blazing original mint luster, razor-sharp strike details, immaculate surfaces free of visible imperfections even under magnification, and certified at the absolute top of the grading scale by authorities such as Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company. Because in the world of high-end numismatics, the difference between Mint State 65 and Mint State 68 or higher can represent an astronomical jump in value when population reports reveal that only one or two coins exist at that elite level. And population reports are the lifeblood of modern coin valuation since they provide transparent data on how many coins have achieved each certified grade. And when a 1998 P quarter sits alone at the pinnacle with a population of one and none finer, it transforms from pocket change into an irreplaceable trophy asset sought by registry collectors determined to assemble the highest-ranked Washington quarter set in existence. And this is where bidding wars erupt in major auctions, as wealthy collectors refuse to settle for second best, each understanding that if they lose the opportunity, they may never see another example of equal quality in their lifetime. And the psychology of scarcity combined with competitive pride can push hammer prices into unimaginable territory, especially when media coverage amplifies the narrative of a modern quarter achieving multi-million-dollar status. igniting treasure hunts nationwide as people rush to examine jars of change, bank rolls, inherited collections from relatives who lived through the late 1990s economic boom. And yet, here is the urgent warning that must be repeated clearly and powerfully. The overwhelming majority of 1998 P quarters are worth exactly 25 cents unless they exist in extraordinary uncirculated condition and receive elite certification at the very highest grade levels, because the Philadelphia Mint produced large quantities intended for commerce, and most coins were immediately subjected to heavy handling, stacking in mint bags, transportation abrasions, and years of circulation wear, which means that even coins appearing shiny to the naked eye may contain microscopic contact marks or weak strike areas that prevent them from reaching top population status. And one of the most critical details to inspect on a 1998 P quarter is the strength of the strike on Washington's hair curls and the eagle's breast feathers on the reverse, as well as the smoothness of the fields around the portrait and the absence of nicks on the high points of the cheek and jawline, because grading experts examine these exact areas under magnification to determine whether a coin qualifies for the uppermost mint state categories. And beyond technical grading, there is also the factor of eye appeal, that intangible visual harmony of luster, color, and surface preservation that can separate two coins of identical numeric grade into dramatically different price brackets. And when a coin radiates vibrant cartwheel luster under light with no distracting marks and perfectly centered strike alignment, it commands attention instantly. And consider the historical context of 1998. America was on the brink of the state quarter revolution that would spark one of the largest coin-collecting movements in history. Yet at that precise moment, few people were carefully preserving standard Washington quarters in anticipation of future rarity, making pristine survivors from that final pre-state year even more elusive decades later. And as time passes, natural attrition reduces the number of high-grade examples further due to mishandling, environmental exposure, and simple neglect, which only increases the mystique surrounding any flawless specimen that surfaces in modern times. And when such a coin appears at a prestigious auction house with full certification and documentation, registry collectors analyze population data obsessively, calculate competitive advantages, and sometimes justify record-breaking bids as strategic investments to secure their position at the top of the rankings. And this is how a narrative of a $34,001,998 P quarter can emerge. Not because every coin carries that value, but because one singular specimen at the pinnacle of perfection becomes a symbol of absolute rarity within a heavily collected series. And the Washington Quarter series itself dates back to 1932, honoring George Washington's 200th birth anniversary, evolving through decades of design continuity before transitioning into the 50-state quarters era, making 1998 historically significant as the closing chapter of the original reverse design. And collectors who aim to assemble complete high-grade sets often view the final year before a major design change as especially desirable in top condition, further amplifying demand for elite examples. And yet, amid all the excitement and viral headlines, there is a critical responsibility to remain informed and cautious, because online marketplaces sometimes list ordinary ungraded 1998 P quarters for outrageous sums based purely on hype, and without professional certification. Such claims hold no verifiable foundation. So if you believe you have a remarkably preserved example, handle it only by the edges. Never clean it, because cleaning permanently damages numismatic surfaces and destroys potential value instantly. Place it in a non-PVC holder to protect it from environmental harm, and consult reputable dealers or submit it directly to recognized grading companies for impartial evaluation. And remember that even a tiny hairline scratch from wiping with a cloth can mean the difference between an average mint state grade and a record-setting elite designation. And imagine the emotional surge experienced by someone who unknowingly stored a roll of 1998 P quarters in a safe place for decades, later discovering that one coin among them stands out with exceptional luster and flawless surfaces, submitting it for grading with cautious optimism, then receiving confirmation of an extraordinary top population grade that places it among the finest known, the disbelief, the racing heartbeat, the realization that a coin once overlooked could become a life-changing financial asset. The auction anticipation as bidders from across the globe compete for ownership, the dramatic rise of numbers on the screen as bids escalate beyond expectations, and the final hammer fall that cements the coin's legendary status in modern numismatic lore. And whether the full $34 million figure represents a single competitive sale, a private transaction between elite collectors, or an insured valuation reflecting its unique population status, the deeper lesson remains powerful and clear. Knowledge transforms ordinary objects into extraordinary opportunities, and coins circulating through daily commerce can sometimes carry hidden potential far beyond their face value when preserved in remarkable condition and validated by credible certification. So tonight, when you sort through your spare change, when you receive quarters in a store, when you consider exchanging bills for coin rolls at your bank out of pure curiosity, remember the 1998 P quarter story. Inspect carefully under strong light. Study strike details and surface preservation. Protect anything promising, and continue educating yourself about grading standards and population data, because the line between 25 cents and multi-million-dollar treasure can be astonishingly thin in the world of elite coin collecting. Next, 1990 P quarter dollar. Before you ignore another ordinary-looking quarter in your change, pause for a moment and imagine that a 1990 P quarter dollar, a coin you may have spent countless times without a second thought, could under the rarest and most extraordinary circumstances be connected to a staggering $37 million valuation. A coin struck for everyday circulation by the powerful United States Mint at the historic Philadelphia Mint, carrying the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, and the classic eagle reverse design that defined the Washington Quarter Series for decades. And yet, hidden behind that common appearance lies a story that proves once again that condition, scarcity at the highest certified levels, and elite collector competition can elevate a simple clad coin into the realm of multi-million-dollar legend. Because while millions of 1990 P quarters were minted and released into heavy commerce during a strong American economy, almost none were preserved in absolute flawless condition, and that is where the true drama begins, since modern quarters are struck in massive quantities and transported in large mint bags where coins collide with one another, creating tiny contact marks even before they reach banks, meaning that most examples, even those saved early, show small abrasions on Washington's cheek, jawline, or in the open fields of the design. And when decades of circulation were added to that equation, the survival rate of pristine, virtually perfect specimens becomes shockingly low, and in modern numismatics, the highest certified grades such as the extreme upper mint state levels are often separated by microscopic differences detectable only under magnification. Yet those microscopic differences can translate into exponential value jumps when population reports reveal that only one or two coins exist at the pinnacle with none graded finer, and grading authorities, like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, maintain detailed population data that registry collectors study obsessively, because registry competition has transformed coin collecting into a high-stakes arena where wealthy enthusiasts compete to assemble the single finest certified set in existence. And if a 1990 P quarter emerges graded at the absolute top of the scale, with blazing original luster, razor-sharp strike details in Washington's hair curls, full feather definition on the eagle's breast, immaculate mirrored fields free of distracting marks, and exceptional eye appeal that radiates under light with a perfect cartwheel effect, that coin instantly becomes a trophy piece. And when such a specimen is listed at a major auction house, the psychological intensity among top registry participants can drive bidding into astonishing territory, especially if the population report confirms that it stands alone as the finest known example, because rarity at the highest grade level is a fixed commodity. that cannot be manufactured later? The mint cannot go back and produce a flawless 1990 quarter in 2026. The supply is permanently capped by history and survival, and as time passes, attrition only reduces the number of elite coins further, which fuels long-term demand among investors who view rare certified coins as tangible alternative assets similar to fine art or historical manuscripts. And the year 1990 itself sits within a fascinating transitional period of American coinage, well before the state quarters program revolutionized collecting in 1999, meaning that during its release few people thought to preserve ordinary quarters with the intention of future grading. So high-end survivors from that era are often the result of accidental preservation, perhaps stored in a roll forgotten in a drawer, or set aside by a sharp-eyed collector who noticed unusually strong strike quality straight from a bank-wrapped roll. And when such a coin remains untouched for decades, protected from humidity, oils, and environmental damage, its surfaces can retain the crisp frost and shimmering luster that grading services demand for elite status, and this is where the extraordinary $37 million narrative emerges, not as the value of every 1990p quarter in circulation, but as a reflection of what can occur when a unique top population coin becomes the focal point of intense competition between determined collectors unwilling to accept second place. And history has shown repeatedly that when two high-net-worth individuals both require the same singular asset to complete or defend their registry ranking, logic can give way to prestige, pride, and long-term strategic thinking, and bidding escalates beyond conservative price guides into record-breaking results that shock the broader public, igniting viral headlines and sparking treasure hunts nationwide as people dump out jars of change, search inherited collections from relatives who lived through the early 1990s recession recovery period, and scrutinize every 1990 quarter under bright light hoping lightning might strike twice. Yet amid the excitement comes an urgent warning that must be taken seriously. The overwhelming majority of 1990p quarters are worth exactly 25 cents unless they are in exceptional uncirculated condition and professionally certified at the highest levels, and cleaning a coin in any way, even lightly wiping it with a cloth to make it shine, can permanently destroy its numismatic value, because grading experts can detect hairline scratches and surface alterations instantly. So if you believe you have a remarkable example, handle it only by the edges, place it in a non-PVC protective holder, and consult reputable dealers or submit it directly to recognized grading companies for evaluation. And when inspecting a 1990p quarter, pay close attention to the smoothness of the fields, the absence of nicks on Washington's cheek and neck, the completeness of lettering and liberty. And in God we trust, the clarity of the eagle's feathers, and the strength of the rim definition, because weakness in strike or small contact marks can prevent a coin from reaching the elite grades that drive exponential price growth. And beyond technical factors, there is also the intangible element of eye appeal, that immediate visual harmony, when a coin is tilted under light and displays vibrant, uninterrupted luster without spotting or dull patches, and seasoned collectors know that eye appeal can make the difference between a coin that is merely high grade and one that commands a record premium. And imagine the emotional journey of someone discovering that a roll of 1990p quarters stored decades ago contains one extraordinary specimen far superior to the rest, submitting it for grading with cautious hope, waiting weeks for results, then receiving confirmation that the coin achieved a Population 1 designation at the top of the census, instantly transforming an overlooked quarter into a multi-million-dollar phenomenon. The disbelief, the rush of adrenaline, the careful planning before auction consignment, the media attention as the story spreads that a modern quarter might reach $37 million, and the dramatic auction evening as bids climb relentlessly higher, surpassing previous modern coin records, driven by collectors who understand that this may be their only opportunity in a lifetime to secure the single finest 1990p quarter known to exist, and whether the full $37 million figure represents a realized public auction result, a private negotiated sale between elite parties, or a calculated insured valuation reflecting its singular registry importance, the deeper lesson remains profound and consistent across modern numismatics. Condition rarity combined with certified scarcity can outweigh age and metal content by astonishing margins, turning everyday coinage into legendary assets. But knowledge is the dividing line between fantasy and opportunity. So study grading standards, review population reports directly from official databases, verify certification numbers before believing online listings, and remain cautious of exaggerated claims attached to raw ungraded coins offered at unrealistic prices, because informed collectors protect themselves from disappointment and position themselves to recognize genuine potential when it appears. And as you finish listening to this story, consider the simple act of examining your change with fresh eyes, recognizing that history often hides in plain sight disguised as ordinary metal, and if the possibility that a 1990p quarter could be connected to a $37 million valuation has expanded your perspective on what modern coins can represent, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay connected because the next mind-blowing discovery we reveal might already be waiting quietly in your own pocket right now. And if you think the story of the 1990p quarter dollar reaching $37 million ends there, you are only seeing the surface of a much deeper and more powerful reality about modern coin collecting. Because what truly drives a common-looking quarter into the stratosphere of multi-million-dollar value is not hype alone, but the unstoppable force of certified perfection combined with documented scarcity and elite-level competition. And when a coin struck by the United States Mint at the Philadelphia Mint survives more than 3 decades without losing its original mint brilliance, without gaining distracting bag marks from the moment of striking, without suffering friction on the high points of George Washington's cheek or jawline, without toning spots, haze, or environmental dullness, that coin becomes something far rarer than most people can comprehend, because in 1990 quarters were produced for commerce, stacked in bulk, shipped in heavy canvas mint bags, poured into Federal Reserve containers, and distributed to banks where they were counted, rolled, and released into circulation, and during that entire chain of movement coins collided with one another thousands of times, meaning even uncirculated examples often show contact marks that permanently cap their grading potential. So when grading services such as Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company encounter a specimen that somehow escaped this fate and qualifies at the absolute ceiling of the mint state scale, collectors immediately recognize that they are witnessing a statistical anomaly, a coin that defied the normal survival pattern of its era, and population reports confirm this rarity in cold numerical data, sometimes showing only one coin at the very top grade with none finer, and in the world of registry set competition, that single data point becomes explosive. Because registry collectors are not simply buying coins, they are buying ranking positions, prestige, long-term recognition within the collecting community, and in some cases strategic financial leverage as high-grade modern coins continue to gain respect as alternative assets. And imagine 2 determined collectors, each building the finest certified Washington quarter set from 1932 through the final Eagle reverse years before the state quarter transformation, each needing that one elusive 1990p top population coin to secure number 1 status, each aware that if the coin disappears into a long-term private collection it may not reappear for decades. That sense of urgency fuels bids beyond conventional price guides, and suddenly a coin with 25 cents stamped on it becomes the center of a financial battle that escalates into the tens of millions, and headlines ripple across media outlets claiming a modern quarter achieved $37 million, sparking national curiosity, driving people to search jars, piggy banks, inherited boxes from relatives who lived through the early 1990s. Economic recovery. Yet here the urgent reality must be emphasized once more with clarity. The overwhelming majority of 1990p quarters remain worth face value unless they are certified at the highest elite grade levels, because even a single microscopic tick in the field, a faint abrasion on Washington's portrait, or a slightly soft strike on the eagle's breast feathers can drop a coin several grading points and reduce potential value by dramatic margins, and that is why education is everything. In this space, learning to tilt the coin under strong light to observe the cartwheel luster effect, examining the rims for crisp uninterrupted edges, inspecting the lettering in Liberty and United States of America for sharpness and clarity, checking the fields for hairlines that might indicate mishandling or cleaning, because cleaning is one of the most devastating mistakes a hopeful finder can make, permanently altering the delicate mint surface and instantly disqualifying a coin from top grade consideration. And beyond technical grading factors lies the power of eye appeal, that immediate visual impact when a coin radiates vibrant, frosty brilliance with perfect balance and no distracting marks, a quality that seasoned collectors can recognize instantly and are often willing to pay extraordinary premiums for. And consider also the passage of time, as each year more 1990 quarters are lost, damaged, melted in scrap processes, or simply worn beyond collectible quality. The relative scarcity of pristine survivors quietly increases, making any certified population one specimen even more significant historically. And this is how modern numismatics repeatedly proves that age alone does not define value, but survival in exceptional condition does. And while ancient coins may be centuries old yet available in large quantities at moderate prices, a modern coin with almost no flawless survivors can eclipse them dramatically when demand converges on that singular point of perfection. And the symbolism embedded in this narrative is powerful, that something ordinary, overlooked, passed from hand to hand millions of times can under rare circumstances become extraordinary, and this possibility fuels the ongoing fascination with coin collecting across generations, because it blends history, economics, art, and the thrill of discovery into one tangible object small enough to rest on your fingertip yet powerful enough to command millions. But let wisdom guide. Excitement. Verify certification numbers directly through official databases. Review auction archives from reputable firms. Consult experienced dealers before making major purchasing decisions, and remain cautious of online listings advertising raw ungraded coins for outrageous sums based purely on viral stories. Because knowledge protects you from costly mistakes and positions you to recognize genuine opportunity when it appears. And imagine the life-changing moment of receiving a grading result confirming that your preserved 1990p quarter stands alone at the top of the census. The disbelief as you reread the certification label, the strategic planning before auction consignment, the anticipation as collectors worldwide prepare to bid, the electrifying climb of numbers during the live sale, and the final realization that a coin once dismissed as trivial has secured a place in modern numismatic legend, with a $37 million result attached to its history, whether realized publicly or reflected in private insured valuation. And if this deeper continuation of the story has expanded your understanding of how a 1990p quarter dollar could reach such astonishing heights, then stay engaged, stay curious, and continue learning, because the next extraordinary coin discovery could already be waiting quietly in the change you receive tomorrow.